This week it's story time. I'm going to tell you guys about my life and my journey to Islam. Or you can say my journey back to Islam. I wasn't always like this. The way you see me right now today with niqab and hijab and abaya, it wasn't always like this. When I was around middle school, my oldest sister decided to wear the hijab, which inspired me and my other sisters to wear hijab as well. But by the time I got to high school, I was over it, and I didn't do it for the right reason, so I decided to take it off. And it was a huge decision, but I felt like it wasn't me, and I didn't do it for the right reasons. My reason was because my oldest sister is doing it, that's why I should do it. But that should never be the reason to wear a hijab. The only reason you should wear a hijab is because you want to, and because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded you to. Never for other people, not for your husband, not for your dad, not for your sisters, not for your friends, not for anyone, guys. Hijab is a personal choice. So I did it because my sisters were doing it, and I took it off because it was the wrong reason. And again, my family was extremely supportive of my decision. They were disappointed that I took it off, but at the end of the day, they're like, look, you're the one who's going to have to deal with it, and it's your choice. So when I decided to wear it, they were really happy. When I decided to take it off, they were disappointed, but they didn't again force it on me. I continued living my life. I dressed however I wanted. I did whatever I wanted. I did everything that I wanted without worrying about the consequences. The world was endless for me, and I was feeling like I was at the top of the world. I was also my daddy's favorite girl, and I was extremely spoiled, so life just felt really good at the moment, just living my life. And I knew that I was a Muslim. I knew what Islam was. We used to pray Eid salahs 2 times a year, that's about it, and we would fast in Ramadan because that's what everybody does. But it never clicked why I did all those things. I was just doing it because it's part of my culture, it's part of my religion. So I guess you could say I was a Muslim by name. I did all those things because my family did them, and I think if my family didn't do them, then I wouldn't do them. It's just as simple as that. I was so far away from Islam that I don't think anyone had hope for me. I think even my own parents, they didn't have any hope for me when it comes to Islam. They were like, it's okay, she's living her life. I don't think this girl will ever be how I am today. If people saw me from my past and they see me how I am today, they would be shocked. They would be like, who is this girl? We don't know her. This is not the Sidra that we grew up with. And a lot has changed since then. What caused the change? It was August of 2013. My dad passed away, and it was a really emotional time for me. At first I didn't cry, I was just like a stone because it hadn't hit me. But later on I started thinking about how he passed away, and it clicked. Wow, he's really gone. His dying words to me on his deathbed was, Sidra beta, Islam pe wapas aa jao, which translates to, Sidra, my daughter, come back to Islam. And I shrugged my shoulder and I was like, yeah, dad, okay, relax. This is not the time to talk about this, because my mindset wasn't on that. So I was like, just relax, it's okay. Kind of rolled my eyes, it'll happen, don't worry. Just make dua, whatever, the generic stuff. And he passed away, and then it clicked that he's really gone. And this man was my everything. My world started with him, my world ended with him. To me, astaghfirullah, he was the only one. There was nobody else. Who was providing for me, who was taking care of me, who was always there for me. It was my dad, no one else. And when he passed away, I was really shook. It changed my entire perspective on this world. And I was so shocked that something so dear to me could be taken away from me. Sorry. Whew. So then I started thinking about where he has gone. Who took him? I had a lot of questions in my mind. And at this point, I only know that I'm a Muslim by name, right? And I know who Allah is, but I didn't realize the power that he had, the power he had to take something precious away from me. So I started researching, I started talking to people, I started finding out where my dad went, who took him, what happened to him. And that's when I started getting introduced to the concept of Islam, the concept of death, the concept of God, and really like tried understanding it. I was only 21 at the time when this happened, so I was really unprepared for it all. I started listening to lectures. Two of the main people that I listened to in the beginning was Dr. Zakir Naik and Nouman Ali Khan. These two people like changed my life, and they don't even know. Like, they drastically like influenced the way I think. I wanted to learn what religion was. I didn't just want to practice Islam because I was born into it. I wanted to practice a religion that I would understand deeply. Every single religion in the world claims that they are the right religion, that they are the way to paradise, that they are the way to salvation. I didn't just want to take things at face value. Just because I was born into Islam doesn't mean that I have to practice Islam, right? I started researching. I started listening to Dr. Zakir Naik. I started online. I started talking to some of my Christian friends. Like, I had a lot of Christian friends. I started talking to them. I looked into Christianity, I looked into Judaism, I looked into Hinduism, and I looked into Buddhism. Those were the top like religions that struck out to me, and I read more and more about them. Also obviously looked into Islam. Over the course of a few years, I started researching, I started talking to people, and one thing that I started doing from the get-go was I started praying Salah. Even though I didn't really understand why I should do it, but I knew that, okay, I need to talk to God directly. I don't want a middleman. So I'm gonna talk directly to God and ask him for answers. So I started praying my Salah 5 times a day. I did that no matter what. And at this time, I wasn't a hijabi. I did not dress modestly. I didn't stop like committing sins that I was committing at the moment. I just introduced the concept of Salah into my life. Slowly, as I was getting on this path, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guided me to the straight path. I asked him to guide me in 5 times a day, and he definitely delivered on his promise that he will guide us to the straight path. If we seek him, he will definitely like will bring us closer to him, and that's exactly what he did. In the meantime, I'm still researching about other religions. None of them really clicked to me as much as Islam did. I encourage everybody to look for answers themselves, to do their own research. Don't just take somebody else's word for it, because this is your entire life. And if you're going to do something, do it because you truly believe in it, not because someone else is telling you to do it. And trust me, when you get on this spiritual journey, the one and only definitely guides you, and he shows you the straight path. So then came the question of hijab. Like, I was still dressing however I wanted, and I remember this one incident where I went to a restaurant to eat, and it was time to pray, and I would always carry like a dupatta, like a shawl with me wherever I would go, so I could like pray. And I went to this one restaurant, and I asked the owner, I was like, where is your prayer area? It was a Pakistani restaurant, okay? This guy looked at me up and down and up and down again, and he was like, you're gonna pray? And I was like, yes. And he like chuckled a little, smirked a little, and like rolled his eyes, and he's like, follow me, and he showed me to the prayer area. That really got to me. Other than his judgmental like look, it just got to me how people view me. Like, yes, I'm praying and I'm doing these spiritual things all on my own, but the way the world sees me is different. They don't see me as someone who's a practicing Muslim, who's praying there 5 times Salah. They just see me as this Sidra who's dressed wherever or however, and she's trying to pray. So it really got to me. Like, I started thinking about how I dressed. And what did I do? I just made dua to Allah Ta'ala. I was like, look, this is happening, and I'm getting conflicted feelings inside me. Like, help me out here. What's going on? So when it came to the question of hijab, I could never ever see myself wearing hijab. Like, I loved my hair a lot, and I loved showing it off. I loved styling it. I loved doing things to it. And hijab, I felt like was, how should I put this? I felt like it was constraining my beauty, and I didn't want to do that. Like, I felt free with my like hair and stuff. So again, I made dua to Allah Ta'ala. I was straight up with them. I was like, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I feel ugly wearing hijab, and I know I shouldn't, but I do, and can you help me out a little bit, like, you know, guide me to the straight path and guide me towards hijab and open my heart for hijab, because I seriously cannot ever see myself wearing it. And I made that dua, and again I was still praying and stuff, and I constantly made dua, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opened up my heart to hijab, and I saw this beautiful like drama. It was a Pakistani drama, Shinakhat I think, and this girl was wearing a hijab and she looked absolutely gorgeous in it, and I was like, whoa, so people with hijab can look pretty. And all this time I thought it was just gonna make me look ugly. So that, when I saw that girl's style on Shanak drama, and honestly, may Allah subhanahu reward them for their efforts, because that drama definitely inspired me to, you know, think about the hijab at least. I started looking at that style and I started researching it, and I just started trying it on and stuff. And it was just this one moment where I was at work and I was just doing my thing, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I just felt like going to go get my dupatta and just putting it on me, like my shawl, and I quickly ran and I put that on my head. And until I did that, my heart was unease, and the moment I put that shawl on my head, I felt at ease. I felt peace in my heart. That was the day that I decided, okay, from now on I'm not gonna be hijabless. And the next morning I ordered my hijabs and I became a hijabi, and it was just as easy as that, and I never looked back. I never took it off again. I never doubted my decision to wear hijab. I just want to say that no one has ever forced me to wear this. My personal decision. It was my personal journey with God and God alone, and that's how it will always be. And I just want to clear this misconception that people, when you see a niqabi, don't just assume that she's being forced to wear this. Don't just assume that she's oppressed. Yes, I know that there are a lot of niqabi women out there who are oppressed, who are forced to wear hijabs and niqabs by their husbands, or who are forced to wear it by their families, but that is not the case for everybody. That wasn't the case for me, and I'm sure there are many stories of many women out there, and it's not the case for them. I was a single woman wearing a niqab, and hijab was okay for my family. My family was like, cool, you want to wear a hijab, yay, you know. But niqab, they have a really hard time understanding it. To this day, I still get questioned about it, like, why do you wear it? Like, I recently went to Pakistan, and so many people, like, you know, they just made fun of me for wearing it, because this is not the norm, right? This is not something that you see every single day. And to this day, there are still people in my family that don't understand why I do this. They're just like, you know, it's not first, it's not an obligation, you don't have to do it, so why do you do it? Just, you know, take it off. You can still be a perfect Muslim without it. Like, I get all that, but this is my decision. This is what I have decided to do, and all I ask of you and everybody else who still has questions about niqab is just to respect the other person's decision, and that's all. If somebody wants to take steps to get closer and closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then who are you to stop them from doing it? For me, the way I look at niqab is, this is my way of getting one step closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I want to save my beauty only for my husband. I want him to be the only man that ever lays his eyes on me. So when I was single and a niqabi, getting a rishta was really hard. I had a lot of people that just like looked at me and they're like, oh, will you take that off? Like, if you take that off, I'll marry you. I even had a rishta from this one auntie who said that if you take off the hijab, then I'll let you marry my son. I was like, bruh, it took me so long to get on this path. You really think I'm just gonna give it up for your son? Like, nah, it ain't gonna happen like that. So people, and with the niqab, same thing. A lot of guys had a hard time understanding like why I'm wearing this, and they wanted to get to know me, they wanted to marry me, but at the same time they didn't want to deal with the niqab issue. Honestly, like, niqab frees me. So I used to be this high maintenance girl, and I went from a really high maintenance girl to a very low maintenance girl. Now I just get up, wear my hijab and my niqab and my abaya, and I'm just out the door. Literally takes me like a few seconds to get out of the door instead of like getting all dolled up. I still get all dolled up, but I do it for my husband, and that's the only man that really counts. Niqab has truly like made my connection with my husband stronger. because I do things only for him and he does things only for me. He dresses a certain way for me, I dress a certain way for him, and we both do things for each other alone, nobody else. And that empowers us, and that really like brings us closer, and we have this secure relationship with each other because of this. When I was getting to know my husband, his requirement only was that a girl would wear a hijab. Niqab wasn't even part of the equation, but he found a niqabi and he's happy. And later on, if I ever decide that I don't want to wear a niqab, he's still happy. Like, he supports my decision to wear this 1000%. And that's my story, guys. That's my story on how I came back to Islam and how I came from not being practicing at all to this. And I'm not saying I'm a perfect Muslim today, definitely not, far from it. I'm still striving, I'm still struggling, and there's still so many things that I need to work on. But it's a journey, and it's a continuous journey until the day I die. And I ask every one of you to just make dua for me, make a prayer for me, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that God always keeps me on the straight path. To all my struggling sisters out there who are thinking about wearing a hijab or a niqab, do it when you're ready. It's a personal journey. And to all my sisters who are living the life and they think that there's no hope for them, just know that if there was hope for me, there's always hope for you. And don't let anyone ever pressure you or force you into doing things that you don't want to do. If you want to wear a hijab or a niqab, let it be your personal choice. And to all my judgmental people out there, I hope this message, this video clarifies a lot of things for you. And I hope you understand that not every single niqabi in the world is being oppressed. And since this is a mommy channel, I want to mention that I have a beautiful daughter, and when she grows up, my sister asked me this, like, Sidra, are you gonna force her to wear a hijab, or are you gonna force her to wear a niqab? No ma'am, nobody ever forced me to do it, so why would I do that to my little precious daughter? I would put a hijab on her until she's baligh, until she's at the age of understanding. Once she hits puberty and she understands that it's an obligation, it's her decision at that moment. As parents, we can only influence our children in the positive way. We can guide them in the positive way. We can show them what the right path is, but we can never force it upon them. So if my daughter grows up and decides that I no longer want to wear a hijab, she can decide that, and that will be her personal choice, and I'm not going to disown her for that. If she decides she never wants to wear a niqab or a hijab, that's again her personal choice. If she wants to wear it, again, it's a personal choice. My husband and I had this conversation that up until she hits puberty, she's under our care and she's our responsibility. She's not an adult and she's not counted for her sins until she hits puberty. And before that, we'll dress her modestly, we'll put the hijab on her. But once she gets to that age where she's an adult, and in Islam you are an adult once you hit puberty, and you are accounted for your sins. And once she gets to that point and she decides she no longer wants to wear it, then that's gonna be her decision, and we are never ever going to force her to wear it. So to answer your question, my little sis, no, I am never ever going to force Samara to wear a hijab or a niqab. Okay guys, that's all I have for today. I hope you guys enjoyed story time. If you want me to do more story times regarding Islam and my journey, just comment below and let me know, and I'll definitely do more of these.